Welcome to our session today. We are going to talk to you about a crazy prototype that we asked our friends from Valtech to do. We're going to bring up those slides right now. New frontiers of augmented reality for retail enterprise. My name is Sonja Kotrotsos. I head up the product marketing for agile content management system vendor Contentstack. And with me is Jason Alderman from our dear friends at Valtech. Hey, Jason.
Hello. You're at Valtech, and I was the project lead on this project.
Fantastic. Now, just a few weeks ago, my colleague Varia Makagonova and we went to Jason and his team with a pretty crazy ask. We said, can you guys build us an AR prototype? Actually, that's not what we said. We said a VR or AR prototype in a few weeks. And they did that. They did absolutely magic. But before we come to Jason telling you all about his journey and what they've built, let's roll back a little bit and think about why did we actually approach Valtech with this ask. Retail has changed, right? You've heard that probably a dozen times over the course of the Next Web these last 2 days. It's really crazy what the pandemic did to us as individuals, as a society, but certainly on retail and on the way we shop. You know, in January, shopping was this occasional pastime. You'd sit on the sofa with your tablet and, you know, buy a new dress or a new pair of pants. And now, today, online shopping is actually a fundamental necessity. Anything, groceries, healthcare, you name it. We've gotten so used to ordering everything at home, which has been fantastic. For the e-commerce branch of retail, 46% spending is up. The retail arm, the e-commerce arm of retailers went up from 15% to 25%. That's insane growth. In January, analysts predicted it would take a decade to reach that growth, and we've done it in a little over half a year. Completely absurd. But at the same time, it left stores deserted. And at least here in the Netherlands, when you go out on the high street, they still largely are. So when we talk to experts about this, then they tell us that the effects of this fundamental shift, how we buy, how we shop, is going to have long-lasting effects. We don't know how long, and we don't quite know how yet. And when and how brick and mortar is going to go back to that new normal that we're all talking about, that we also don't know. But one thing is certain, that to bring them back to the high street and to get them back into the stores, we do really need to up our game. And there's an interesting concept that we came across when we did research, which is called the multi-experience environment. And I'm really excited about this concept and the ideas behind it. And I think that it has real potential to really, you know, up not just the in-store experience, but at the same time also the digital shopping experience as a whole. If we can go to the next slide, Jason. The idea essentially around a multi-experience environment is that we stop thinking about the individual devices and really think about the whole customer shopping journey as one multi-channel, multimodal experience. So really connecting people with the digital world around them across all those devices that we have. And the mobile phone is really the connective tissue in all of that, because we always have it with us and it can link us to all, you know, the screens and that sensor-rich store. We take it home with us again. So it's really crucial. It's like a hub in that ecosystem. The idea is to create like an ambient experience, and I love that word, ambient experience. So rather than thinking about one touch point, really thinking about the entire journey, the entire space around us. And then digital is not so much about like my device and my phone, but really the space and that entire experience. So virtual reality and augmented reality are new things really in practice that are coming into this mix. And what they do is that they really help us to move that digital space, that multi-experience environment, from an isolated individual experience into that holistic journey. So when you read Gartner, then it's not actually surprising that a quarter of large enterprises is already today busy with piloting and deploying mixed reality solutions in 2021. And 2021 is just 3 months away. So if you're not working on that yet, you can meet Jason after the talk and he can help you work that out. Ooh, look how I pitched you in there, Jason. Okay, cool. So augmented reality and virtual reality. Which of the two do you do? When we set out with this pilot, I wanted virtual reality. If we can go to the next slide, please. And virtual reality, I wanted for one simple reason, because I thought it was really, really, really cool. And I was very determined about that. In hindsight, I'm really glad that Jason and the team at Valtech challenged us on that and persistently challenged us on that, because especially if you're a marketeer like me, you get really attracted to shiny things. Make sure when you start your mixed reality journey, you have a critical partner next to you that doesn't just implement the brief that you give them, but that continuously asks you that one question that Jason's team kept on asking us, which is, why is it useful? And that sounds like a simple question, but I struggled a little bit to answer that in the context of virtual reality, because I think it's cool. It's fully immersive, location independent, and it's exciting. And I wanted something exciting, right? I said, yeah, that's great for events. That's great for gaming. That's great if you need to create a virtual stadium because we can't see sports live anymore. But retail, how is that going to work? I said, first, we really need to build a lot for virtual reality. We need to build a world, a virtual world. And that wouldn't have stopped me, quite frankly, because, they would have had to build it, really. But then we started talking about the devices. And they were like, do you really think shoppers are going to go into a store with a virtual reality headset, like goggles or something on? I'm like, yeah, maybe not. But we can put a little rack at the entrance of the store, and then we can put the devices there. And when they come in, they can take them and kind of sneak into a corner and do their VR thing there. I'm like, yeah, people are complaining about face masks already. Also, we would need to sanitize it every time after someone has used it. And even after sanitizing it, probably people are not very comfortable to put something on their nose and eyes that someone else had on their nose and eyes before in these times. Yeah. Okay. All right. So slowly but steadily, I had to bite the bullet and say, fair enough. Maybe virtual reality is not a great case for an in-store retail experience. So we started looking at augmented reality. And for me, augmented reality is always a little bit like the ugly little brother of virtual reality. I was not a fan. But the more we looked into it, the more I actually started liking it for 3 reasons. First, it is actually connecting, right? Because you don't need to have a device. You can do it on the phone. And by now, as I learned, you actually don't need an application on the phone. You can do all of it just with what's native there, what the browser gives you, essentially. So that's pretty cool. It also connects, not just the different devices that you have on you. It also connects offline and digital, and it connects essentially the store to the bathroom. If you think about a customer experience from buying to using and maybe repurchasing. So the phone is always with me. I personally, at least, don't have a virtual reality headset in my belt. I then also found it is actually really addictive. If it's done well and you start doing stuff with your phone and it works and it's cool, you want to do more of it. And if you think about your store, what's even better is when someone is 1.5 meters away from you testing something on a product and you can see cool stuff happening on the screen, at least, if they have a little bit of geek inside of them, they'll probably want to check that too. So you've got some sort of snowball effect going on as well. And lastly, the phone knows all about me in actually a really scary way. So it's perfect for bringing in personalization. It knows my location, it knows my history. It has all my payment info on here if I want to repurchase an AR as well. So that all seems like a lot of benefits for the trade-off of fun, really, at the end of the day. But then, when you don't have control about the reality that you create, if you don't create this entire world, how do you actually get the content into this application? And how do you blend it in a way that works with the actual background reality? I thought that was a really scary thing, but Jason and the team beautifully mastered that one, and he's going to show you just how. So we settled on augmented reality. And one warning there, augmented reality, look at the next slide, still, oh, actually, I forgot that one. Yeah, because I'm a marketer, so I needed to have proof, right? I needed to have proof that augmented reality actually is cool, because I didn't think it was. We found this research, and you can see the link at the bottom of the slides. And I was surprised how engaging shoppers actually found augmented reality to be. A good 70% said that they would go to a store more often if there was AR stuff going on. They would also stay longer. And I was really surprised by this. Over 70% have already made impulse purchases because of AR. So they come more often, they stay longer when they do, and they're really, likely to buy something that they didn't come for. That sounds like a retailer's dream. And then on top of that, 40% are also willing to pay more for a product experience, for a shopping experience that is enhanced with augmented reality. So there are some really great figures that you can use for your prototype business case. Still, the one warning, that trap that I fell into, next slide, is do not also do augmented reality to be cool, right? You know this video of the guy that sees the pole and wants to jump over it and then realizes he's just a little too old to do that? That's what it's going to feel like. You need to discuss and you need to obsess about really adding value to your customer. Form has to follow function, because these novelties, augmented reality, virtual reality, they're super prone to being like a one and done sort of experience. You try it once, you go, yeah, that's nice, and then you don't do it anymore, which doesn't help your customer, and it also doesn't help you, because your intention is to engage and to make them come again. So focus on what value is this adding to the customer. The opportunity, next slide, in AR is really that it is beautifully designed to give you an opportunity to explain complex information in a really simplified, accessible way. And that purpose, that reason is important. It has to be done in a better way than what you had before. It needs to be better than your website or a brochure or the label on the back of the product that's on the shelf. That's really what Valtech helped us with to understand as well. And when you do that, it brings your brand story to life. You can get your conversational platforms in there, your influencer marketing, and tie everything together in a really, really nice way to ultimately reduce the self-service friction that I think we all feel today, be it in store or back home in the bathroom. So, Project Spyglass. We went to Valtech. We said, build us something cool. You've got 4 weeks. And Jason, you're going to tell us all about how that went.
I am. It was a fun ride.
It was.
So thank you, Sonja. When Contentstack came to Valtech, we knew going out of the gate a few certain things. One, we knew that we were using Contentstack because they had a headless and API first service, a content management system that they wanted to demonstrate the benefits of. And we wanted to demonstrate that as well. And we knew after some initial conversations, we had settled on augmented reality over virtual reality for the reasons that Sonja said. And then lastly, we knew that we wanted to make it a web app and not a native app so that it could be demonstrated pretty much anywhere. And I apologize because I realize I talk very fast because I get excited about things. So if I'm talking too quickly, please make a comment in the chat and I will slow down. But there are several things that we didn't know. First of all, we didn't know which industry we were making something for. And we didn't know why we were making it. What was the use case or the compelling story that we were going to have for this that would make people actually want to use it and that they would get value out of. And then finally, while we knew we were making it for the web, we still didn't know which frameworks we were using. And we'll get back to that in a moment. But first, let's start with the for whom. Who are we making this for? So we had an internal brainstorming session where we brought in a bunch of people, engineers, UX researchers, and UX designers, a VP. And we tried to, as Sonja said, AR is about simplifying complex information. So what are industries that have really complex information? So we brainstormed around those industries and then tried to look at what are the patterns there and what is the complex information that these industries have. And then finally, how can we personalize this? And as we were brainstorming all of this and putting it together, there were two main industries that kind of emerged from this: beauty and skincare products and museums and education. And our brainstormers, our coworkers were all really excited about those two domains. So we put together a pitch for Contentstack. And as you can see, we pitched our beauty skincare concept as well as another one for museums. But after discussion during the pitch and afterwards, we both concurred that the beauty and skincare product idea was the way to go because it better fit our goals. And it was also something that was more relevant to a wide number of retailers. And also Valtech had a lot of clients and customers and connections in the beauty and skincare space. So now we knew which domain we were going to be working in, but what was the story that we were going to tell? And so, of course, we jumped into another brainstorming session. And we started out by doing some user research. We sent a survey internally to our coworkers and asked if anybody was a guru around beauty and skincare products. And we had made the call to focus on skincare products. And as we kind of peeled this apart, and as you can see in the upper left corner of this brainstorming document, we were doing an analysis of the taxonomy on all sorts of different beauty and skincare product sites. And we found out that skincare routines have a lot of steps, but most of the time they're boiled down to about 5 steps. First, you're cleaning your skin with a cleanser, then you're toning it, which means that you're shrinking the pores with an astringent. This was all new to me. And then you have a serum, which even our skincare gurus in the company were not really able to explain clearly, which made us really curious. I'll get back to that in a moment. And then you're moisturizing it and protecting it with a sunscreen. And so as we looked at this and our curiosity about the serum, this kind of cracked open the story for us. And what we realized is we were trying to think of a way to present this where we were demystifying the entire process of skincare and covering several products with one AR experience. But what might be a better thing to do is to tell a story about a single product over the life cycle of that product. And to illustrate this, one product, 3 scenarios, we've got a video, and I'm going to try to play it over the screen share. If people are having trouble seeing it, I'll be narrating it, but we'll also have a link to it at the end of this presentation. So we focused on the serum product. We've put labels on bottles and pretended that they were serum. And we focused on 3 different times in the life cycle of the product. First of all, when you're purchasing a product, whether this is in a store at a display or at home online. And so you can hold up the phone to a certain product and look at information that is separated into tabs. You can swipe on the screen of your phone back and forth to navigate those tabs of information. And the kinds of information you're getting here is relevant to the time when you're purchasing. You're getting information about how well it meets your skincare goals based on a profile that you've set up beforehand. You're getting information about reviews and how popular something is among other people, maybe in your friend network who have known it. And you're also getting information about contraindications and allergens. One major problem in the beauty and skincare world is people might be allergic to certain products, and so they have to avoid products that have specific ingredients in it. But you found the one that you want, you're ready, you take it home, and then when you bring it home, you hold your phone up in front of the product and you get detailed usage instructions. You also get more information about the benefits of the ingredients, the active ingredients that are in this product. And this information doesn't have to be textual. It could be video. It could be a lot of detailed images. After you've been using it for a while, you have the exact same interface, but now you can add additional interactions like tilting it to leave a review. And you'll also have additional tabs of information, such as a For You tab that could tell you you've been using this for a while. Maybe you want to up the concentration, or perhaps the UV index in your local area is higher, so you'll want to remember to use more sunscreen today. And all of this, again, is done completely in the browser without the need to install an app and using Contentstack as the backend. And we've got it all uplined so that you can try it. We'll share that URL again at the end of this presentation, but that is all working, thankfully, in 4 weeks.
If I may just jump in there, right? I don't know how you guys feel, yes. But when we set out to do this, and when we asked for a prototype and, MVP, we expected to get something ugly back, something that would just like show content at the right time. And we'd have been super happy with that. What I find fascinating is how gorgeous we were able to make this in this short time as well. And I think that's proof for that. It is possible, right? The technology is there to do this nowadays.
And speaking of the technology being there to do this, nice segue. We, at the same time that we were brainstorming what the story was, we were researching the technology stack. And it became clear pretty quickly that the three technologies we would want to use would be A-Frame, which is, not to get too technical because I'm not sure about the audience here, but I can field tons of questions afterward. But A-Frame is a way to declaratively describe a 3D scene in an HTML-like markup, component markup. And then ARJS, which takes that 3D scene and layers it on top of your camera pixels. And then that was all bundled together with a low configuration bundling tool called Parcel that compiled all of the code so that it would work on most browsers. And the obligatory architecture diagram, I won't get into the details of this too much, but this slide is here to demonstrate that all of this was pretty much in a static web page that was served up, and then it got all of its data through the headless APIs of Contentstack. And we got GraphQL, pulled that data in. As I said, we were simulating a personalized data store of information that would simulate something like dynamic yield and put that in a JSON file, and then brought in A-Frame and a custom build of ARJS that dealt with some of the issues that we were dealing with there. But having something that was microservices-based, API-first, cloud-native, and headless was what really made this happen. And both Valtech and Contentstack are founding members of something called the Mock Alliance, where we're advocating this way of doing things. And honestly, we feel like this is the best way to go for most projects that you will face. So now we had the focus, we had the for whom we were making it, the story we wanted to tell, and the technology. And we iterated and iterated and iterated between our small team of 4 people, 5 people, and tried to ruthlessly cut things that didn't fit within the scope of that. So there are too many things to name here, but a couple things that I want to draw attention to. In the content model, we built it with Ben and Gall at Contentstack and focused on what the best practices of content modeling are, and then evolved that content model as we entered information into their UI and figured out that some things might need to be described in different ways. In this case, we used the common usage direction phrases that are on medication, such as twice daily or at bedtime, at nighttime, and put that in so that it was quicker to enter that information. And then in the design side, we were constantly focusing on how do we minimize the amount of text. I know in the demo, this looked like this was pretty text heavy, but we actually did a lot of copywriting and cut down the amount of text to make it readable and legible on screen, and put a blurred dark background behind it over the camera view so that it was readable. As our designer, Svante Nilsson, liked to say, this was a constant battle between innovation, coming up with these wild, crazy ideas, and execution, what we could actually build in the time. And then finally, in the engineering side, there was a close two-directional collaboration between design and engineering going back and forth to make these dreams a reality. And one of the things we discovered early on is that AR maps things to the markers that it's tracking and moves them in position and rotation. And we wanted to keep it so that it was readable at all times. So we billboarded it and just had it follow the position. And that made for a much smoother experience. A lot more that I can get into this in the Q&A afterward. So what are the key learnings that we had for this? I know that there are business people in the audience and there are technical product people in the audience. So our main takeaways from this experience were, first of all, that constraints will really help your creativity. And because we started out with very few constraints, we had to define those up front. And we're really glad that we did, because that focused our effort moving forward. That mock makes it possible. Having an API-first headless content management system like Contentstack made it very fast to be able to upload content, quickly distribute that across their content delivery network, and pull it down easily into our apps, and then iterate and iterate. And then prototype start conversations. We've already, through this POC, gotten the attention of a lot of people and a lot of other teams internally to Valtech and across Contentstack, but then also among our clients, who some of whom are in this exact domain. And these prototypes are very doable in a short period of time with a small team. And then on the design and engineering side, we tried at first to actually do image tracking. That's why you may have noticed that one of the labels didn't have the big square box fiducial markers on it. But what we should have done is gone to markers first and gone with the simplest solution to just push ahead and cut extra variables out of their thing. If you're doing AR, you should try to keep it as visual as possible, because it's hard to read text on a screen. And so we tried to minimize the text and make it as legible as possible in as many ways as we could. And then finally, we really loved using A-Frame and highly recommend it for quick prototyping on your AR projects. It's simple enough that non-technical people can quickly make a 3D scene, and then technical people can expand on that. And all of this was developed in the open. We've got it completely open on our GitHub page, or valtech-sd/spyglass. And then we've also blogged about it as we've went, all the ups and downs and tribulations of the process. Contentstack has documented on their blog. And so that's all I have. Sonja, did you have anything else?
I do have one question for you.
Ready. Oh, excellent. Yes.
So you had 4 weeks, right? We didn't say that you didn't have 4 weeks to develop. It was 4 weeks from can you build this to actually shipping it. So that whole brainstorming ideation part was part of that too. We didn't actually talk about the 100 engineers that you had working on that. It was 100. It was 100, wasn't it?
So we actually had 2 engineers, 1 designer, and a project manager who were working on this on our side.
That's amazing, right?
It was it was a dream team, but we were small, nimble, and focused, and our project manager just focused on what the scope was and helped us eliminate all of the other things. And so we constantly asked ourselves that question.
That I'm asking this because Anouk asked the question, we've been hearing about AR in retail for a while. This isn't new. So when is it going to become mainstream? And Anouk, I think the thing that is new is that technology has changed a lot. The AR retail apps that I've seen from just a year ago mostly would be hard coded somewhere. You'd ship it and you'd have an app, and then good luck to a customer with this. What is new about this, apart from the insane speed with like 4 people team, is that it's all live. So your merchandisers, your marketers, your content people can control the content in the AR app essentially in real time. And that is fantastic, and that is new, and that makes it actually very efficient and very effective for you to do as well, right? So that's what has changed, and that's why I think when more and more retailers adopt this mock approach, and indeed check out the Mock Alliance if you want to hear more about that, then we will get mainstream, because now you can do it fast at super low cost, and you're still in control as the business user of what's going on a minute later in your stores and in your customers' pockets. Cool. Can we do one more question? It's 5:15. I don't know. Freddie, Samuel? I'll just do one more question. I'll just be cheeky. We have a lot of questions, and I'm old. You see, this is the reading part of my glasses. So I need to scroll up in here. Are there any marketing projects imaginable that VR would be better suited for? Yeah, I think where you need a world. You know, think about your favorite sport. You can't go into the stadium right now. That would be great if you could have a VR stadium that you could, you know, watch football or baseball or whatever your sport is, and it still gives you that feeling of I'm there. You still have that fan experience that does feel real. What other things, Jason? You work on VR a lot too.
Sonja, I think that you touched right on it. It's things where you need to be transported someplace that you couldn't ordinarily go. And so travel is one industry where VR might be really, really useful.
Oh, yes.
Telemedicine could be another one. But lots of possibilities. But for this project, we thought that AR was much better for retail.
The connection, right? There's another question about a checklist. Yes. So how do you make sure you don't just do AR for AR's sake? You gave me that one point in the checklist, right?
Yes. So we spent a lot of time. That was probably a 4 or 5 hour brainstorming session where we were trying to crack what the story is so that we weren't doing AR for AR's sake. Because if we couldn't do that, even our engineers, our designers, nobody on our team really wanted to work on something that was just a flashy demo of technology that didn't really serve any use.
Just think about, why is it useful? How is it better than not having it, right? And that needs to be your guiding light. That needs to be the North Star. And then you'll be fine. And also create a prototype. The beauty that you have with this actually being just sort of a web application thing is that you get usage analytics back. And then if you prototype it, you can see what is it your customers are doing, what is it your customers are actually excited about, and then you can iterate over that, right? And that's also a really huge advantage of not having a boxed app that you ship out into the world. Cool. I think we're up on our time. I can feel the next web guys want us to leave this stage. We're going to be at the Contentstack virtual booth, and I think our colleagues pasted that link. So if you want to continue the conversation, if you want to know more about Valtech, more about Contentstack, more about AR, VR, meet us there in a minute. Thank you, Jason, for doing magic.